Hey, welcome back to Great American Movie Review. Thank you for joining me once again on a new release review, this time for the biggest new release of this week, Valentine's week, Lisa Frankenstein. As usual, I'm going to keep this spoiler free, but general plot synopsis here is you have this girl played by Catherine Newton named Lisa Swallows, and after experiencing a tragedy where her mom died, she moves to a new town because her dad remarried. Now she has a new stepmom and a new stepsister, and she's trying to get used to this new environment and her senior year of high school, set in the year 1989. But she has this fascination with this one particular tombstone, and clearly the boy, because of the statue over the tombstone that's there, when things happen and he comes to life. And so you have her dealing with the situation with this new zombie man that she's kind of fixing up and taking care of. And then, as we like to say, shenanigans ensue. Now, this is the feature film debut for Zelda Williams, who is actually Robin Williams' daughter, so cool to see her still doing stuff in the industry. And the most notable name probably on this from the production standpoint is Diablo Cody, Oscar winner for writing Juno. Also wrote things like Young Adult, the cult hit Jennifer's Body, and Tully, which I really loved Tully, but that was her most recent film in 2018. And yeah, I'm just gonna say it, I had a blast with this movie. Now, I am prone to like this kind of thing, despite the fact that I may not be in the target demographic for it. I tend to like coming of age stories, especially when you throw in a little bit of a gothic horror twist on it. So in this situation, obviously it's leaning in the Frankenstein kind of thing, but I love things like Ginger Snaps. I actually haven't watched Jennifer's Body, but I feel like that's right up my alley. But even like a lot of these 80s movies, which this movie's leaning into, obviously with its 80s setting, like My Best Friend is a Vampire, just kind of silly, goofy stuff like that, if anybody's ever seen that. If I see some supernatural twist on just like a regular old teen comedy, then I'm there for it for whatever reason, and this is no exception, and I really enjoyed it. There's something to say about it just being a movie that just seems to do whatever it wants to do within the realm of its conceit. It is PG-13, but there are spots in this movie where it really goes for it, in both the comedy of it and in some of the violence in it. It's not like an action movie or anything, but once again, leaning on those horror things, maybe even a bit more strongly than some of those 80s films would have been allowed to do when you are still targeting a teen demographic. Cast is led here by Catherine Newton, who she's been popping up in a lot of things, and she's never really moved the needle for me too much. I really did like her in Freaky. That was a fun movie. But here, I think this might actually be her best role thus far. Just a lot of fun in this kind of role. This kind of sheepish character kind of breaking out into her own to some extent. Your Frankenstein creature here is played by Cole Sprouse, who is most recently known for Riverdale, and I'm not going to judge anybody too hard for that show. But I think he does a good job here, honestly, for an actor like him who's, pretty prominent, I guess, within this kind of scene. It's cool that he would take a role that virtually has no lines, a lot of grunting and moaning, but not really any lines. And there's also a pretty great Carla Gugino. Saying she's pretty great in this is kind of par for the course for Carla Gugino. She's a great actor, and she gets to be a real kind of manipulative dirtbag kind of stepmom, kind of that evil stepmom kind of role. On the other side of that, though, you have Liza Soberano playing the new stepsister character, Taffy, and I love the way that this plays off of what you expect for that character. I think it pays off really well too in the movie on the kind of relationship that you'd expect this character to have, because she's this big, like, peppy cheerleader character who is super popular, and you kind of expect a certain dynamic from that, especially in this type of movie, but I love the way it plays with that expectation. Also, just shout out to Joe Crest for continuing to play great 80s dads that are kind of aloof. Going back to his role in Stranger Things, pretty much the same character here. But yeah, this film feels like it's going to be a cult classic in the future, which seems to be what everybody's saying about it, but that's really what it feels like. It's not going to be for everybody easily, and it's not going to make a lot of money. It's too niche. But the film is a lot of fun. I had a good time with it. If you saw this trailer, any marketing for it, and you're like, that seems kind of up my alley, it probably is. And if you saw the marketing and you're like, that looks dumb, you're not going to like it. It's just how I feel about this. It's one of those. But yeah, that's just kind of my quick non-spoiler thoughts on Lisa Frankenstein. Thanks for joining me on this episode, and we'll see you at the movies.